Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Friday. It's August 15th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to be an abbreviated chart lesson today. I've got some other stuff going on. I've gotten tied up, and I don't have a whole lot of time. I marked the trades up until about lunchtime that I saw. Really good trading day. And there's probably some other trades in here. Again, there's always people ask me that, I won't mention some area. I can't talk about every bar or every move on the chart. So if there's something, a trade that you took that you're questioning about, you can always send me an email and ask me about it, and I'll try to answer it. But just because I don't talk about something on the chart doesn't mean it wasn't there. Um, but generally, the ones that are surefire that fit our rules and that that you want to be able, make sure you saw and are good trades. And then of course, I got the green ones in there that are just borderline, but generally they're good trades. They're just more more aggressive, and a beginner would probably not want to take them. But if you're aggressive and you're taking most of the trades, then you might want to take it. So um, hope that makes sense. But I'm going to talk about what I saw real quick, and this is going to go quick. And I apologize. I wish I had a little more time. But early on, we had a trading range there. This was a little higher. This was right in there, and I just didn't like entering in here. You might have thought about a short here, but it's so close. I don't know. But other than that, there weren't really any trades in here earlier that I liked from when I got here. This was the first one I liked, nice long. This one right here was very, very tempting because we had this move up, and if you're looking for a measured leg, it's on up here somewhere. So it was a very tempting trade, but when it broke lower first, if it would have went out the top side at the same time, I'm saying, hey, probably a good trade. The only other way was to use a limit order and get in far enough back that you can still get out before you get to that high, and that doesn't happen. So I don't like that long right there. And like I said, it was very tempting. I almost took it myself. In fact, I had a limit order in there. It never got filled. It went higher. I didn't chase it, never chased a trade. And then suddenly you get this little turn down right here, which is a failed break. It's a little, I went back and forth about whether or not to make it green or not, but it is a failed second entry long. It is a failed break above the highs. Um, you had matching highs here, matching highs here. There's a good chance it's coming back at least to the EMA or to test this area before it goes higher. And this line is probably really more like right here. And notice how you never really got traction off that line yet. And that's the key before you want to go lower. And you never really get good traction off that line. And so that's enough reasons to maybe consider that short right there. It's a first entry. I went back and forth about whether or not to make that green. It's a fairly good setup. Honestly, the more I think about it, it probably should be green because it's a first entry. But this is a clear trading range, and that's a failed breakout. And it was tempting to take that one short, but because of all the overlap, um, it's probably going to drop down and pop up, and it's so much closer to the EMA. And then this one gets up there, and the EMA's there's enough room, and so I kind of like that one. Now you don't know this is going to happen, and they blame this on some news out of the Ukraine. But that is a sell-off, and it's really hard to get in this, and it's moving so fast, and you're thinking, what changed so quickly? There's a breakout pullback short right there. Um, I guess you could make that a green one too. Um, I think it's a little risky going short right there. It's not really finding resistance off that line yet, but look at it go. And you do see that big move down. The odds are you're going to get another leg down, but you might get back to the EMA first, and we weren't. But it's a breakout pullback short. I mean, look at this went from a new high all the way past all these past swing lows, right through what had been strong support. It went right through that it wasn't even there, pulls back and turns back down. That's a good sign. So it's not one of our standard setups, but it's a good sign. And then you get a failed second entry long. You still got a little bit of room down to this low to get out. You might use a limit order again here. This one I went back and forth again whether or not to make it red or green, but there's so much overlap. But there's that trap, and this is a downtrend, so a lot of traders are going to take that automatically. It's obvious there's a reversal happening, and they love to catch you on that failed second entry and turn it into a trap. And then notice this low here. We went right on through it. We pulled back, and this is almost like a repeat pattern. Another short, it broke higher first, and then went out the low side. I like just using the stop there. Yes, it's a first entry, but it's right off the trend line, right off the EMA. This thing is looking really strong to the downside. There's enough room to get out before you get back down to this low. There's even almost enough room to get out before you get here. In fact, there may be. But this is the one you're really worried about down here. And again, it makes a new low, tries to go up once, comes back and tests it to the tick, turns down. I like going short right there. Another breakout pullback short. But this one is right at the low of the day, and there's no other lows past that one. Now you've got this area right in here that you can look for as a target. But what I was really looking at were those lows from yesterday right here. And look at that. And look where this thing bounced right there. Now again, you don't know that it's going to take off like that, but once it's moving pretty quickly like this, I'd get a measured move here and look for that over here. I think we more than surpassed that, but it's going to be in the ballpark. And you can see that it went a little further. It went down to that area, pulls back, and then you start working higher. And at that point, I found this, actually I didn't find this bigger trend until this swing right here. And then when it turned down again, I drew my line. And it looks like we never had a break of this, but somebody else sent me their chart, and his looked a little different right in here. And what he did was let's just draw another line so we don't change that, because this is what I was working off of personally. But if you draw that right through there, and it does tend to fit, and it makes sense why this came up short right here. So there's a break right there and a move to a new low, and then you got the reversal. I was still looking, and I wasn't the only one looking for a retest, because look, it tried to go lower once, twice, three times, and it just couldn't get back below that support from yesterday, and it went higher. And that's what happens if a market can't go lower, it's eventually going higher, and if a market can't go higher, it's eventually going lower. But the more I look at this, I mean, his stuff fits in here really well. I'm just going to go ahead and remove my stuff and put his on here. So I can't rule out that he wasn't right. I mean, look at that. It's almost a perfect, actually, if you go to the very bottom, it looks like a perfect measured move. And this might be just a little bit higher. Right off those closes. Now that makes sense. So he may be right, and that did give us, oh, I moved the wrong line, didn't I? That's what the problem is. I knew something didn't look right. Did I copy the right line? Yeah, there we go. And so that is further down here like I thought originally. So that looks really good to me. So, and then you bring that up to those closes really. So I like that, and I believe that he's right. And I didn't find this. Somebody else found it and sent it to me. And but his bars looked a little different here, and I could see why he would do that. And notice how mine hesitated there and hesitated there. So there's some, after the fact, I can see that he's probably right, and I was off just a little bit on mine. Now, it didn't make that big a difference because it looked like I wasn't the only one that still thought the market was going for a retest, and all these trades still worked with no problems. There's actually a short right there too. I didn't circle. This one must have set up afterwards. But when we couldn't get down after 3 attempts, then it reversed and went higher. And I see a little break, a couple of different breaks here, and then 2 legs up, and so it was time to go lower. And on this one, this was probably more like this, and we probably had the break and the move to a new low and then a reversal. So I might have even had that one off a little bit, although I don't think this fits that well right here. So I'm guessing, I mean, that still looks pretty good to me. And it fits pretty good there, except for maybe an overshoot. And maybe it's a two-tiered. And you see that. It does look pretty good right there. But we never got a retest on that one. But, you know, normally when you get a news-related item like this where the market sells off, now this is not a normal news-related item. This is something that wasn't scheduled news or economic news. It's just something that spooked the market, if that's even really what happened. I'm guessing that that's what it was. Once people start seeing the selling, everybody gets spooked and they run for the door. But generally, when you see news related, especially that's scheduled economic, and you get a big sell off like this, sometime before the day is over, it will take all of that back. And we took most of it back, not all of it, but you can see we got back to within 8 points or so. It'll usually, um, uh, excuse me, I'm having a little throat problems here again from talking so much, but it usually will take that news related item stuff back pretty quickly. So, but let's get back to the trades. I got to wrap this up. We're already 11 minutes. This is more than I planned. I think the last trade we talked about was that one. And then we're working up here, and you just can't get excited about this uptrend because, um, you know, if you're looking at this shorter term channel, that's the first break. And so you can't really get excited about an uptrend until you got the trap right there in the reversal. So I like that for, and plus look at the trend line, the break, and you're looking for a retest of a new high, and then it starts working down. And I was also looking at this bigger channel, but, and it could have still been good too because we got a break and we ended up trying to make a new high still. But I'm guessing this one is not was not what we were looking at. It was this one, and you can see this one, if you draw it on both sides, it fits real well. You got your break, you move to a new high, and then you sold off again. And then now you got one working down. You get a break, a move to a new high, double bottom, a move up, a break, a new high, and then it sells off again. And it's right there off that trend line. On the way I had mine drawn, it was right off the trend line. So I really like that one. Um, but either way, even if this one is correct, you still don't have your new low yet, and you got your break, move to a new high, and then it reverses. And if you didn't like going low below, short below that one, which you could have tried a limit order and would have got filled, you look at this one, just go short below it. There's still room to get out before you get here, and definitely room for here, but it just goes through that like a hot knife through butter. It's been sitting on the counter for 3 days. It just, look at it. There's no support there. It barely even hesitates. And it's off to the right. This is some heavy I'm going to tell you, this is some heavy selling, these two moves right here. Even this one was pretty strong, but this was some heavy selling. And for it to move down like that, that's heavy, heavy selling. And even watching right in here, I was watching it. There was some fairly heavy selling, so there was also a lot of buying going on in there. But there was still some heavy selling from this high down to this low right here. But for whatever reason, people were coming back into the market. But that's what people love to do. They love for a big sell-off like this, and they buy it up knowing it's probably going to rally. That's the hardest time to buy, is at these lows. But these aren't people that are trading like us. These are people that are buying and holding longer term that start buying. They start nibbling away at these lows. And when they finally catch one, there's some pretty good money there. So, but that's not how we trade, so don't get caught up in that. But I like that long. There's a short right here again. Look at the new high. First entry long, pull back. Everything went through the EMA. A second entry long, it fails. I like going short there. It took a little while to, it kind of hesitated a little, but easy scalp. And then we already talked about this one. You're moving up, close outside, move to a new high. It's right there at your trend line. We just talked about it. Then two legs up, and you get another setup right there at the trend line. And it's a second entry short, easy scalp. I probably would have used a limit order here if you could get it filled, and I'm pretty sure you could have. And then you got your close out, a new high, a little failed move higher that turns down. I like that one. Again, it didn't close on its low, so try to sneak in a tick or so early just in case, but you got room before you get here. And, you know, it went all the way down to here. And then now you get a failed second entry long, and this pattern right here is almost very similar to this one right here. And hopefully you can see that a move up, and then you get the, so it's kind of like a, it's a little harder to see, but it's similar to a kind of a repeat pattern. And then you get another push higher right off that trend line, turns down, real bearish reversal bar, another easy move. And then that was it. I didn't mark anything after that. There's a possible long here on a second entry, then a second entry off the, counting off the lows, a double top, that's a double bottom pullback. Those are usually generally fairly reliable type setup. So, but this is getting real late in the day, and stranger things happen in the day. I can't say for certain, but it's my opinion based on my experience of watching it that if you're going to have, let me reword that. For whatever reason, I believe the price action adheres to the rules and what we do, and it's more predictable before noon. For whatever reason, the afternoon changes a little bit, but I think that I think most of your traders that are retail professional traders like myself or anybody watching this video, I think most of them are done by noon. Now, is that why it changes? No, I don't think so, but I think there's a certain time of the day around the 1 o'clock hour where, and you can see it came in right in here where suddenly the bias changed quickly. And for whatever reason, that seems to happen. And I think it's what I believe happens is that the larger, more commercial entities that trade in the market have taken in the day, and they have some squaring up to do, or they're reevaluating some new low price or new high price, and they come in and start their buying or selling right before the last hour or two before the close. So that's what I think. Okay, I had a slight interruption, but what was I talking about? Oh yeah, that's just my personal, some of the things that I've seen that happen for whatever reason around the 1 o'clock hour every day. Something just, it gets less reliable to me, and maybe it's just me. I don't know, but that's just something I've noticed, and so I've tried to, you know, that's just me. I'm always studying the market and trying to figure out and find a different angle or understand. Really, my goal is I want to understand why things happen. It's one thing to watch prices sell off like this, but why are they selling off hard here and here? And why is that happening? And why does it reverse here? And why does it reverse here? And why does it reverse here? I want to understand that. I don't want to just see it happen and say, I wish I'd have been on it. I want to understand why that's happening. And so I'm always trying to figure out and understand and learn what the market is telling me. And that's all we're doing as price action readers. We begin to learn this stuff and we begin to understand what's happening. Okay, sorry, another interruption. But anyway, I think you understand. The idea is to know the market and know it intimately so that you understand why it's doing what it's doing. And and just to give you an example, I can remember being a trader and, the market would be on the way up like this, and then suddenly something like this would happen. I'm like, what the heck happened? And of course, they're going to blame it on the Ukraine news, and maybe that's exactly why I did it. But, and that's not typical news, but generally, I think they'll write the news to fit the price action in most cases. And so maybe they blame this sell-off on the Ukraine. It's kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's that kind of thing. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you understand why it's doing what it's doing. And in the end, there's a bigger pattern here, and prices are just working from lows to highs on that pattern. And, the sooner you can find and figure out that pattern, the better off you're going to be. Because if you wait and enter too late, there wasn't really too late an entry today, because even if you entered this last one, it still worked. Sometimes if you wait and enter too late, you'll get trapped and it'll go without you. So you got to enter at the right place at the right time, and that's generally going to be off strong support or resistance, which are usually going to be these support and resistance lines, or these trend lines, which are nothing more than slanted support and resistance. So anyway, 20 minutes worth, and I was going to try to keep it under 10. You know me, I can't do it. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I got to get out of here. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back to do it again next week. I'll see you next time.